banned mining in the region for 100 years. That takes us from a couple $100 million to $1 billion in very short time. We have two very good assets. Calico is the second largest undeveloped primary silver resource in the United States. That's $1 billion deal.
Andy, welcome.
Thanks very much, James. Great to catch up.
Yeah, it sure is. It's been years. And Andy, you know, I've seen you pull off a number of successes in the mining space. But tell us about Apollo Silver. How did that all come about and where it's at? I mean, I just got to point out to my viewers that I made this appointment to talk to Andy about 5 days ago when the stock was half the price that it is today. So it seems to be moving pretty quickly.
So Apollo came about in 2021. Some supporters of mine said, would you look to do a silver deal? And at the time, you know, two other companies I had founded, Prime Mining was trading north of 500 million market cap, and American Lithium was, I don't remember, it was somewhere between 500 million and $1 billion, and Millennial was on its way to being taken out. And so it was easy. I said, for sure. I raised 53 million bucks in an IPO, and we bought an asset from Pan American in Southern California called Waterloo, put some money in the ground, and then the markets kind of, as you know, went south for about 3 years or so. You know, all the work, put the money in the ground, advanced the project, and then we got it ready to go to economic study. And then that's a pretty boring time for the shareholders. You know, like my biggest shareholder in Prime, Pierre Lassonde, said that's kind of the valley of death of his Lassonde curve. And so I bought an option to property from MEG called Cinco de Mayo, which you'll probably remember back in the day, a monster CRD in Mexico that's got a real problem with the community. Anyway, Apollo Silver has over 400 million ounces of silver. If you combine measured, indicated, inferred, if you convert gold to silver, it's got over 400 million ounces of silver. And two projects in two mining-friendly jurisdictions. We got about 33 million in the treasury, or will have at the end of next week. And we might never need to raise money again if the plan holds together. And I'm going to start to talk too much, but I like to put things together, advance them, and sell them for the benefit of all shareholders. That's it.
Sure.
We're not building a mine. We're going to make this valuable so that someone else that will build a mine buys it from us.
Okay. Well, that's good it's good to know that is your clear mission as opposed to develop a mine. I mean, I don't know how many viewers know that sometimes the company that seeks to take its mine all the way to the end zone in production will suffer a lot of slings and arrows in that process in the share price, and it's not always the best thing. So that to me makes it a more attractive value proposition than a team that wants to take it all the way, because there's just so many pitfalls there. Now, because I don't know that much about Apollo Gold yet, but I'm going to soon, Andy, what proportion of your 43101 compliant resources are gold versus silver?
Okay, so in our Calico assets in San Bernardino, we have 185 million ounces of silver, 600 million pounds of zinc, that's a critical mineral, 3.3 million metric tons of barite, another critical mineral, and 130,000 ounces of gold. In the project in northern Mexico, there's 155 million ounces of silver equivalent. So that's, I'm just trying to do the math. It's about 55 million ounces of silver and then 100 million ounces of silver equivalent that's lead zinc. There's also a 500,000 ounce gold moly oxide deposit there. That's Mexico's richest moly deposit, but it's a gold oxide. So there's a whole mess of minerals here or elements, but most of it's silver.
Okay, and so is the rampant enthusiasm on the buy side in your company's share price, do you think that's part of the popular imagination of the investing public, hearing all of the sort of media hype around silver and all of the media focus on silver and gold as the precious metals complex sets new records on basically a weekly basis?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting support because of movements in the gold and silver price. But what I would say is that we're still not a widely recognized player yet. Like I think there's so much more room to grow. The we've got a very good share registry. It's very tight. Half of this company is owned by me, Eric Sprott, Jupiter Asset Management, Commodity Capital, Primevest Capital, and Terra Capital. I mean, that's it. We represent probably half the company. The big deal in this company is that we have two very good assets. Calico is the second largest undeveloped primary silver resource in the United States. Second largest. Cinco de Mayo in Chihuahua, Mexico is the largest CRD in North America, or projected to be the largest CRD in North America. And it's an asset that the street, the banks, the analysts, and sophisticated investors will tell you that it's a world-class deposit. My colleagues that put Prime together tell me it's $1 billion deal. But 13 years ago, the mining company that was on it was banned from it, and they banned mining in the region for 100 years. So we've got these two things that are huge assets, but they both have some hair around them. California is a difficult place to permit, but San Bernardino has 90 operating mines, and the federal government just gave Equinox the permit for Castle Mountain, which had been 5 years in permitting. They just got the expansion permit on a fast 41 by the federal government. So it's changing. And I tell you, if Calico, our silver deposit, if silver gets on the critical mineral list, then all of a sudden that asset is going to be very valuable to the federal government. They'll push the permit through, and that's a major re-rate. Like, that takes us from a couple $100 million to $1 billion in very short time. That's Calico. Cinco de Mayo, same thing. If we can fix the problem and get back on the ground to go to work, there's 155 million ounces of silver ready to go back to work on, and we know it's a lot bigger. So my friend said that's $1 billion deal. Like, so that's the piece in this, is that you've got real opportunity here on some pretty binary outcomes.
Sure. What is the essence of the resistance from the community at Cinco de Mayo?
So it was Mag Silver's asset. And in fact, when Mag got kicked off 13 years ago, they lost 400 million in market cap.
I remember that.
So yeah, so we know that it's worth money. At the time, Mag didn't have a very solid written agreement with the community. So if you have any troubles, you don't have a referencing document to figure out who's right, who's wrong, how you resolve issues, blah, blah, blah. Back in those days in Mexico, you didn't really need to have these lengthy written agreements. Mag was also paying people for when they had to. They would provide some capital to members of the community, and that caused friction. Like when one guy gets a new truck in his yard and the next guy doesn't have one, you got problems. You gotta have a written deal that lays it out for everybody. This is how much you get. You're the same as everybody else, blah, blah, blah. Mag also drilled 439 drill holes into Cinco, and their drill crews were housed in the community, and that caused real friction. And I used to own a drilling company. If you put your crews in the community, you run into troubles. You run into troubles with at restaurants, at being bars, and it's just you're always better to sequester or to compound your employees and curfew them, and like we've done in Prime. And so Mag had this friction with the community. And then the last thing was, there's a bunch of farmers that are going through drought. Their crops are hurting. Anyway, they don't like miners because we cause wage inflation and we compete for water. So they were anti-Mag, and the husband and wife that ran that agricultural group were murdered. And that was blamed on Mag. And I don't know if you remember that back in the day, but Mag got blamed for murdering two people. And clearly, look, Mag's a good operating company, and even, I mean, there's no Canadian mining company that's going to murder people to try and, but it made good press. And it turned out that the people were killed because of their association with a drug dealing gangster cartel guy. But But that didn't matter. The damage was done. The people that ran that agricultural community voted to overturn mining for 100 years, and they stacked the vote in their favor, and Mag was busy at the time fighting a take under from Fresnillo over Juanicipio. The market had beaten them up. They couldn't do anything about it. I'm talking too much, but Mag offered $5 million in cash to the community to resolve the problem, and unfortunately, that just made them look a little more guilty, even though they weren't.
Right.
And so nothing got done. And Agnico tried in 2019 to get this project, and they went in and relogged every drill hole. They went and did a bunch of work. It was all due diligence work.
Uh-huh.
But when the community's already banned mining for 100 years and you were in there working, the community doesn't know the difference between due diligence and new work. So they got angry. Here I am, 2024, negotiating with George Paspalis at MAG to give me an option on it. I'll fix the problem. That's what we did in Prime. I was telling you when we first got together that Prime started at a 15 million market cap, and right now it's 600 million, and Torex is buying it. And the reason we got it in the first place is because there was a problem on the ground, and we were able to fix that problem. Took 9 months, but we fixed it to get to work and build all that value.
Well, if there's anybody who can solve that problem, Andy, I'm pretty sure you're the guy. So, all right. Well, that's great. Well, we're going to leave it there for now. I really appreciate your time today. We'll come back to you in due course. Thanks for the update.